Hello and welcome to another video interview. I'm really excited. I have Jessica. Hey, Jessica.
Hi.
She's joining me today, and what we're going to talk about is just like normally how I would do a video interview. So I'm going to chat a little bit about who Jessica is, and then I'm going to ask her some questions, and we're going to get into some really good chat today. So Jessica Eddy, almost said that wrong. I'm like chronically pronouncing people's names wrong. Jessica Eddy is a non-diet dietitian, and Jessica and I have known each other for quite a while now. I can't even remember how long it's been. Has it been like four years? Five?
Probably 4 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Jessica helps dancers and aerialists with nutrition and more. We'll talk about that too. She's from central Alberta. Red Deer is the town, which is in Canada, for those of you who are not joining from Canada. And she works with people in virtual consults, especially now, or like one-on-one or with group settings. And she has 2 Instagram accounts. I'll go through those and you can follow her, and I'll also tag those. So Aerialist Nutritionist and Nutrition Now Inc. Yeah, so welcome, Jess.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to have this interview, so thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so I did a brief introduction, but tell people all about your business and why you serve the niche that you do too, because I find that really interesting.
Okay, so I have had a private practice for about 2 years now, and I called it Nutrition Now. With the name not only having a double N, which I think is catchy, but also the word now acting as a reminder to be in the present. So I work mostly with different types of recreational athletes or active persons, but in particular, I specialize with people in performing art. So what is performing art? It is an art that is performed for an audience through movement of the body. So as defined by the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it would include things such as music, dance, drama, and circus arts. But for me specifically, it's with dancers and circus arts. So for dance, anything from ballet to hip hop and everywhere in between, everything in between. And then for circus arts, it would include pole fitness, silks, which is the fabric apparatus, and then lyra, which is a suspended hoop apparatus. So whenever I refer to an aerialist, I'm referring to those specific circus arts. And if I say apparatus, I either mean a pole, silk fabric, or that lyra suspended hoop. Just so that everybody knows what I'm talking about, because not everybody actually knows what those mean.
Yeah, I did not know what the hoop was called actually at all. So new information for me today.
Yeah. Yeah, and I decided to serve this niche because I'm also a performing artist through dance and circus arts. So my passions are ballet and pole fitness. I've danced for over 20 years, and 6 of those years have been for pole dancing. And so, yeah, it's consumed a large part of my life. And it's a huge part of my identity. So it's always been a part of where I felt I needed to be in life, either contributing to or participating in myself. So that being said, I did pursue professional career in dance when I was younger, right out of high school. And I experienced some of my own nutrition related issues that really got me thinking about the importance of having a positive relationship with food while being a performance artist. So it was really an exploration of finding myself, finding a place where I fit in this world. That's another story, but I did a 5-month-long adventure to Costa Rica to kind of find myself, and then really discovering my own dance limits. So then I found that interest in nutrition. And then now I'm very passionate about nutrition as well. So it was a no-brainer for me to include the 2 in my life. So here we are.
Wow, that's really cool. And I do find that like most of us as dietitians, we have especially as entrepreneurs, we do come to our work from a place of passion, like something that's happened in our life or something that we love. And that's what brings us to our career choice and who we serve. Yeah, that's so cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So I always love watching your pole videos.
Thank you.
I get so inspired by them. I've tried pole before and it's really hard. Like the things that you're doing that I see. Your videos are very strength-based, technical, just amazing. And so I know you teach pole, and I'm interested in how you got to that aspect of it, like from your original dance choice and selection, and then what it brings to you in your life, and then also what it brings to your students.
Okay, I could talk forever about this, so I'll try to keep it shorter. So I guess as a performing artist, um, I personally know the importance of how to fuel your body properly with food, but also working to have and maintain a positive body image. And I say maintain because it is a lifelong process. And, being able to accept changes in your life, in your body. So for me specifically, growing up as a dancer, you're told that you have a very short dance career life. So pretty much, as soon as you're done high school to mid-20s is your prime as a dancer. And if you miss that, you won't get hired by a company. So you're really like chasing time. And I was so grateful to find pole because pole doesn't discriminate on age, by age. Yeah. So you could be any age starting in pole and make a career out of it if you wanted to. You could teach it, you could become a professional. A lot of the professionals in the industry actually started later in life. So that's really inspiring. So yeah, that was kind of how I got interested in pole. And then the other part would be being a dancer as an adult. It's really hard to find classes that challenge you if you've danced your whole life.
Right, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, people aren't teaching you as an adult because that's what you're already supposed to be in the career for that very short period of time. Right. So yeah. So for me with pole, I loved the fact that it was challenging. I was so challenged. Even, growing up as a dancer and knowing what I knew for technique and how to, having strong legs and how to isolate my body, I could not do anything on the pole when I started.
Very humbling, I'm sure.
Incredibly humbling, but also really motivating because I knew that it was something I could work towards and get better at. Right. So that was kind of my journey in finding and falling in love with pole. So I think the benefits of pole seem to be endless. Nice. Before I started teaching pole, I had the benefits that it brought me. So, I could continue dancing. I could keep building upper body strength. As dancers, you have a lot of lower body strength and not so much upper body strength. But from teaching students now, I've really found that there's so many different benefits. It is endless. So I like to just say pole's amazing because I think that's the word that describes it the best. Yeah. And I'll always use that word because that's how it feels to me. But yeah, I do teach pole. Pole fitness or pole dancing, whatever you'd like to call it, same thing. And I am expert or ex-pole certified. So I'm technically internationally certified to teach pole. That's cool. Which is pretty cool. Yeah, I was really lucky. They had a certification here in Red Deer and the instructor came from Las Vegas.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So that was really great. But I currently teach a Red Deer Pole Academy here in Red Deer. And it's actually owned by another registered dietitian named Kiana Bragg and her husband. which was really great for me because she shares the same values as I do in our practices. So non-diet, weight neutral, very inclusive. So all of the instructors at the studio, we convey that messaging of body positivity, no diet talk in that space, no negative body talk in the space either. And we say for every session that starts, we, convey that to the students so they know. But also like going down to the furniture that's in the studio, and the clothing that's for sale, everything follows in those values. So I'm very grateful to be at a place where not only my passions can be fulfilled, but also how I value nutrition as well.
And just how you value to provide like fitness to all people too. Like that's such a huge piece. Like I know coming into a gym for a lot of people can be like really uncomfortable, and there's a lot of like fitness culture, diet culture talk. Like I know when I went to the gym that I was using before all of this happened, and the gym shut down, but there was like, before after pictures on the wall. And when I came in to do my first assessment, I was asked if I could be measured and weighed, and I had declined. But it's still not, it doesn't feel like a safe and inclusive space for so many people. And so that's so powerful to have that space where clothing, like chairs, the discussion, like the atmosphere and the culture is really like inclusive for everybody. That's really amazing. Mm-hmm.
I completely agree. It's a very welcoming space. And we've even had students that, word spreads. We've only been open since October. And then COVID obviously took a large chunk of that opening time. But we have had students come from other parts of Alberta to our studio just because of that. The word has spread, and they know it's a welcoming space and a place where they can just feel safe.
Yeah, which is amazing, and feel empowered to do fitness in a way that like works for them. Yeah, that's really cool. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm so happy that you found that space and that group too. Like that's really important in your career, and even for me to find like-minded people who also want to provide nutrition and fitness in a way that is really inclusive to everybody. That's really powerful. Yeah. So I want to know what struggles nutrition wise do dancers and aerialists have typically, and like what do you help them with?
For sure. So I would say one of the main struggles with dancers, so a lot of the aerialists that come to us, or people that go into an aerial form, such as pole, silks, or lyra, they have a dance background, a lot of them. And so they come into it with the same thinking of like a concept of control. So I know that that is something that can be associated with disordered eating, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. So it doesn't have to be restriction or dieting. It can just be, say, a list of foods that you say yes to and a list of foods you say no to, or overthinking about food and potentially not eating when you're hungry, and not following those hunger cues. So I find the controls really present in dancers. And then, of course, it can happen with aerialists as well, even if they had a gymnastics background, just because, like, we control our bodies in the ways of controlling how many times you train a week, how often you stretch for that flexibility, what muscles you're specifically engaging in order to execute a move. For example, how high you lift that leg in a leg extension, or squeezing your glute muscle to tap into active flexibility to get a full split on a pole. So the body awareness is huge, but you also know that it has to do with you controlling it. And so I find that because you think that way so much, especially being a dancer, it's this constant creating and battling to create a mind-body connection with that muscle memory. But then it's really easy to transfer that over into thinking more technical about food. And when it's mixed with diet culture, it can be really negative.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like so much sense for me, because I always knew there was like a connection between, sort of that control piece of food with the dancing and gymnastics, even a lot of times like community. But I don't really understand like the psychology of it. Like you explaining that, it does make a lot of sense of that connection. And also I would imagine too, part of it is like your body performing is also like out there for people to be viewing too. Does that play a bit of a part of it too?
A huge role. There's such a focus on the aesthetic. I don't know about gymnasts, but I know dancers. A lot of the companies that would hire you professionally look for a certain type. So a body type.
Right.
Some of them hire based on ethnicity, your color of your skin. And it's just how the companies run. It's been like that for a very long time. So I know for me personally, I was always told that I had too big of hips and I had too short of legs. So I had to fake it to make it. I had to pretend and make my legs look longer than they were. And
How do you do that?
training. And so that comes back to that control, right? Of feeling like, okay, I can control this. I can control how I look. I can change how I look based on the angles that I use. And then that transpires right over into food. And it's, yeah, the aesthetic is huge. And focusing on what you look like all the time as a performer. So going back to aerial types of movement, I really appreciate that about pole because, or any apparatus really, if you were doing silks or lyra, same thing, just because you are more focused on the apparatus than you are about what you look like. And the reason for that is because you have to learn how to maneuver your body around the apparatus.
Right.
It's not natural. We don't walk around, every day touching a pole or walking around a pole. That's just something that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So every single person that comes into a pole studio is at the same level. You're starting right from the ground up. You are touching a pole for the first time. You're learning how to move your body around it. And you're so focused on it, you can't even think about what you look like. And so I find that's a really great benefit of pole because the focus is taken off a lot.
So how do you help dancers and aerialists then with some of those struggles? Like if they come and they're, not nourishing their body well because of some of the control struggles, or even that good or bad food list that they have and avoiding certain foods, maybe ignoring their hunger, and really not feeling comfortable in their body, like what their body looks like and wanting to manipulate that. Like, how do you help them?
Yes. So one of the biggest things I like to talk about is the acceptance that you will not be perfect. Because dance specifically is so focused on that perfection. Letting that go is the first step to really forming that positive relationship with food, because you have to be in the present more, realizing and recognizing all of your accomplishments and all of the work you've put in to get you to this point, but then accepting kind of where you are and just going with that. It's really hard to be in the present when you're focusing on perfection because you're thinking about the future constantly.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And so a lot of exercises to be in the present, reflect on how your body's feeling, really thinking about what your body might need to continue training at that moment in time. Or, thinking about, like I'm actually thirsty right now, just really being more present.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
I feel like when you tap into that present self, it's just easier to know what your body needs because you're listening.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and then including that food as fuel and fire to your body training and performing instead of it being an afterthought, like
Mhm.
bringing that in to the present.
Yeah, that makes sense. So mindfulness of like that introspective awareness of getting to know your body's cues and like then listening and building that trust in your body. And then also recognizing nutrition as fuel and as energy and not just as the diet culture, like, and it's the enemy or there's something bad about food, but actually looking at it as more of a positive and connecting it with energy and recovery, fuel for training. Yeah.
Yes. And even along those lines, again, going back to pole, because that's what I'm passionate about. Um,
That's
I,
awesome.
I really like the fact that in pole, you have to use every part of your body.
Mm.
So it's very inclusive. So say you were an individual who, because of your religion, your beliefs, cultural beliefs,
Mhm.
you don't want to, you want to cover up.
Mhm.
It's possible to do pole and cover up. There are sticky poles. There are poles made of silicone. There's also sticky clothing that you can use. And so you can still partake in the art of pole and not stay covered.
Mm.
But for any metal poles, you have to show your skin
Mhm.
because you need to use your elbow pits, your knee pits,
Mhm.
just like your armpits. We call them pits everywhere. Um, your your shins, your shoulders, and inside of your shoulders. There's so many parts of your body that you need. You need that skin surface contact to
Mhm.
stick. And so I know we have a level 1 session. So it goes for 4 weeks. And after that level 1, everyone can move up to level 2. But in level 2, you need to wear shorts. You need to start showing more skin. And it's really interesting because I find a lot of people are hesitant at first,
Mhm.
especially if they're not comfortable with showing their body in that way.
Oh.
But then when I describe the intention is to build those skills, it's not about looking a certain way. People kind of give themselves that permission
Mhm.
to show themselves.
Mhm. And like wearing shorts is not something most people are comfortable in, just generally on a day-to-day basis. Like from my perspective, even on like some of the posts that I've seen on Instagram of people that I follow, like wearing shorts is like a big hurdle to like overcome for a lot of people because it's just like they don't like their cellulite or they don't like what their legs look like, their thighs they think are too big. Like there's all these body image things that come with shorts that's different than wearing a skirt or a dress or tights or something else. Yeah, I could see that being a huge hurdle for people. Mhm.
Yeah. And it's also really interesting too, because with pole, you have to grab, your skin,
Mhm.
or we call it good fat. You have to grab it with the pole so you can hold yourself, so you can stick to it. And so you just start, even if you're uncomfortable with it because of diet culture, you start thinking about it in a positive light. And I feel like all of those little positive connections that start changing your thinking helped for that positive body image.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think of Lexi and Beauty Redefined. Lexi and Lindsay, two sisters that have PhDs, and yeah, basically they do a lot about body image. And one of their kind of known quotes is to use or think of your body as an instrument and not an ornament. And I think that that's really what you're describing is like in body image work to move away from just the visual aspect of your body and start to look at it as how does it allow you to do things in life and on the pole that you want to do, and how does it serve you in that more functional way instead of just an aesthetic way.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that saying.
Yeah, so tell people, just to wrap up, what are a few tips, like nutrition wise, that you could give dancers and aerialists that you would want them to like take home with after this video?
Absolutely. So a couple nutrition specific things.
Yep.
It would be bring snack. One would be bring snacks that you enjoy with you everywhere. There's always scheduling changes with aerialists and dancers. And if you don't have that snack with you, it can be really difficult to feel your body. I know even where our studio is located, there's not a lot around to have an option to quickly go grab some food. And I have a lot of students that will last minute decide to stay for the next class.
Mm-hmm.
And then they haven't eaten anything to fuel their body for the next one. So I always say bring snacks with you, and ones that you will enjoy, that you just worked really hard in one class, eat to enjoy afterwards.
Yes. Yes to food that you enjoy. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then the other thing I would think for nutritionally is to just think about recovery from your training or even a performance. When you perform, is really high adrenaline. And for a lot of people, then they aren't hungry because that adrenaline lasts for a while after you've performed. But still, especially when you perform, I think that you burn even more calories because of all of the extra adrenaline going through your body. And so just to make sure that you have something that you can eat after you've performed, to leave that leeway till you have a meal, because a lot of the time you were waiting till the rest of the show is over to do your final bows or, celebrate with the team. And it can be a long period of time. So
Yeah, those are good tips. I know even some people, when they do exercise, their appetite does decline because just of their types of hormones and how their body reacts to exercise. And so, yeah, that's a great tip. Like, even if you're not necessarily feeling hungry, that's that practical hunger aspect of intuitive eating, is like you still need to feel your body because you know that it needs fuel, but you may not get that hunger cue. Yeah, that's a great tip. I love it. Awesome. So I just want you to remind people where they can find you on Instagram, if you want to give your handle again. Mhm.
yes, so my Instagram handle for the company is Nutrition Now Inc. And then if you're an aerialist, so if you're performing or you're participating in any sort of aerial apparatus, you can follow me at Aerialist Nutritionist, and that's where I'll have aerialist specific posts and information.
Nice. Well, thanks, Jessica. This was so nice. It's so good to get to know you a bit better, and just like to pick your brain on like the psychology also of eating for dancers and aerialists, because it's a little bit more complicated than I would have thought, possibly looking in. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. This has been great.
Have a good day, everyone. Thanks for watching, and check out Jessica's Instagram, follow her. And if you have any questions, obviously you can send her a DM or comment on one of her posts and she'll get back to you right away. Okay. See ya.